All right, here we are back again on the Sort of Sports Podcast, episode 51. And today is a very special day, ladies and gentlemen. Today is our 2023 NBA mock draft. Woo! Hooray! Yay! Oh my gosh. Yeah, I got a packed audience here at Studio T1000. Fun fact, the Terminator poster has been sitting in here since last January 2022, just against the wall. And 2 days ago, I actually hung it up. So, big day for Studio T1000. Right now, I have Jackie Brown running in the back while I record this. So, I don't know. I mean, it's like 2.5 hours. So, I don't know if it'll be done by the time. I mean, I turned it on when I started the mock draft, and I wrote everything down. And now I'm recording, and it's still playing. So, I think at the moment, it's still my least favorite out of the Tarantino movies, but that out of the 4 I've watched, but that still means I really like it. I think it's really well shot. It is. It might be like, it's got a lot of like just cool like frames that you can like take a picture of and then like put it on Twitter and say directed by Quentin Tarantino, like one of those pages. It's got a lot of those shots, which is a good thing. I think it's a really good looking slick film, which I think is kind of what he was going for. So, I guess if I'm going to talk about Tarantino, I might as well say I haven't watched any Tarantino movies since I came back from Europe. The only movie I've watched since coming back from Europe is actually Bedtime Stories of Adam Sandler, childhood favorite of mine, classic. Might be put in the Hall of Fame, honestly, at the end of the year at the Sort of Sporties. I'll have to think about it, but I really like that movie. So that's the only thing I've watched really since coming back from Europe, other than, the plane ride and the movies I watched there. So I'll probably watch Kill Bill 1, maybe try to watch that this weekend. But really my mind's just been focused on the whole NBA draft thing. And then next week I'll be going to see Spider-Verse and Flash and maybe Indiana Jones all in the same week. I think I might at this point just be waiting to watch Transformers when it comes out streaming just because the way time worked and me being in Europe and everything. Speaking of Europeans, my dog Victor Wembanyama becomes a Spur tonight. And I've been waiting to talk about Victor Wembanyama. I pretty much have just decided he's going to be my guy. Like, I think I've talked about before on the pod how I'm going to be a big Arch Manning guy because, like, same age, so I'm going to be able to watch him, grow up essentially with me. He might be a year younger than me, but we're about the same age, right? And Victor is, like, only, 6 months older than me, so I think it's really fun to, follow his career because, we're going to, grow up together. How cute, am I right? It's like we're a little couple. But, yeah, I don't really have that equivalent for basketball. And I was like, why not make it Victor? Why not make Victor Wembanyama my guy that I just follow his career? Because, I mean, as much as I love Giannis and Jokic, when they were drafted, I didn't really like him that much. I didn't really care. I didn't watch the NBA when Giannis was drafted, and I was just starting to watch when Jokic was drafted. I know, what a big difference, the 1 year. But, I was just the first NBA draft I remember watching was 2015. So that's a year after Jokic. So the first time I heard of Jokic was 2017. He was in 2K. I was like, who the hell is this guy? So I haven't had a favorite player of mine that I got to watch be drafted. And even my guy Sadiq Bey, when he was drafted, I was like, I don't even know who that is. I don't care. And then, over time, a friend of mine, Josh, was like, hey, you got to watch this Sadiq Bey guy. And then I ended up becoming a big fan. So, Victor is going to be the first guy where it's I'm going to like him from the jump of him getting drafted and watch his whole career play out. I think automatically he's just my third favorite player in the league. I don't know if he's over Sadiq. I think it'd be Giannis, Jokic, then Sadiq at the moment. That's the top 3. Obviously, Shake Milton is disqualified because he's too powerful. But Sadiq might move to 4th because him and the Pistons are a perfect marriage for me. Third favorite player, third favorite team. And without him, it just it just ain't the same. So, the Pistons, I still want to see them do well. I still like the Pistons. And I still like Sadiq, but I like them both a little less for parting ways. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I think Vic might just flat out be my third favorite player. I mean, we're having 2023 is the year of the Ryan Klinger drafts because, I mean, I don't know if there'll ever be a more important NFL draft than this year. Bryce Young being drafted, my favorite team having the number 1 pick, I'm in a big time where I'm watching a lot of NFL. Like, pretty much the entirety of me really heavily watching the NFL, Panthers been bad. So when Bryce Young gets drafted number 1 overall, I'm like, this has the chance to be the most, no, not the chance, this is the most important NFL draft of my life. And I think, at the moment, I'm thinking it's probably the most important NBA one, because it's the first time I've had a guy that, I'm committing to following his whole career. And I mean, it's not exactly a hot take to say, hey, I'm going to be a Victor Wembanyama stan. I mean, the guy's being heralded like he's basketball Jesus. I mean, they're the same people who live in Ohio that were like, as soon as LeBron got drafted, they were just like, I will follow LeBron to the ends of the earth. And I'm doing the same thing with Vic. I now realize this is like a 20-year commitment. I'm essentially having like a miniature marriage to Victor Wembanyama. This is a dangerous move. I'm pretty excited, but yeah, this probably is the most important NBA draft. It could definitely be topped. Like if the Cavs had the number 1 pick, maybe. Could it be topped? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Because it just feels, I don't know. Because if you really look at it, I do think I'm a bigger Panther. Like, as far as team goes, Panthers are the most team I'm a fan of. Like, well, I like the Cavs, and I like the Bucks a lot, and the Pistons, too. The team I really seem to be attached to is the Panthers, as far as a team goes. So, this might be it'll probably be a while. It would take a lot for this NBA draft to be topped as far as more importance in my life. So before we get into the whole mock draft, got the first 30 picks, and then I got a couple second rounders I want to watch. I got to call back to last year. So I've been doing mock drafts, like full 30-pick mock drafts, I think since I started doing them for fun, I think in 2018? I think I did my first one where I actually predicted all the picks in 2019. But I would always predict like the top 5, verbally to my family. Poor guys. Sit there and listen to like me in junior high being like, I think it's going to be Luka number 1. So, was wrong. Should have been. That take did age well. But, yeah, I think I'd had since every year I'd done it, though, like where I'd actually written out all 30 picks, I'd gotten the top 3 right every year. 2019, I had it Zion, Ja, RJ. 2020, I had it Edwards, Wiseman, LaMelo, even though I thought LaMelo would be a better 2, and that was the way that was true. Like better for the Warriors is what I'm saying. And then 2021, I had Cade, Green, and Mobley. But if you remember, on this podcast, I said that I think the Pistons should heavily consider taking Jalen number 1. That take did not age well, and I don't think it ever will. I don't think there's really going to be a time where we look at Jalen Green and say he's better than Cade. So it's a good thing that Troy Weaver and the Pistons did not listen to me. Definitely a good thing. And then last year, I predicted Jabari Smith number 1 overall. I preferred Paolo, but I thought Jabari made more sense for the Magic, and I was wrong. Paolo went 1. I had Chet too, but I had flipped Paolo and Jabari in what they did in real life. So I will say I'm 100% confident in Victor Wembanyama going number 1. I don't think there's anyone that would pick otherwise. You're just being dumb. So I guarantee I get the number 1 right this year. But this year's draft's really cool because, Vic is the lock for number 1. And then after that, it's, we're not sure what's going on with the Hornets here. Is it a smoke screen? It feels like literally everyone wants them to take Scoot except themselves. It's the weirdest thing. It's like it's like that friend you got where like everybody's like, oh, you should go date that girl. You should date that girl. And he's like, yeah. And literally everybody thinks he should go for her. And then he ends up going for somebody else. And you're just like, what are you doing? Come on. So, that's the equivalent of the Hornets right now. If my guy Aiden listens to this podcast, he's going to know I'm talking about him. So let's hope he doesn't. Well, that poor guy. I always he's dated there's a lot of girls he usually dates, and I'm like, I don't think that's the best move. There's other girls that'd be better, and you just does not listen to my recommendation. So he is the same as the Hornets. I probably shouldn't document me for saying this, but I think it's kind of funny. So I'm going to keep it in. I don't think Aiden's going to listen to this. So we should be good. I can't believe I actually said that. It's funny. I'm sitting in my basement laughing at myself. Really peaking in life here. Okay. Whew. Okay. So, what I think's cool about the draft is that I think this is me overhyping the draft. I have to say. I'm completely overhyping the draft by saying this. But this I feel like has a lot of freaking talent in it. And if Vic is really as good as I think he's going to be, I think a lot of people think he's going to be, this could be like the new 03 draft. Like, I'm serious, because I think Scoot has, best player in the league potential. Legitimately. Like, I think he could be a top 5, top 3, maybe even the best player in the league. He is that high of a ceiling. I'm very high on Scoot Henderson. I really like Scoot. Vic. Okay, here's what I want to say about Vic. Also, everybody shortens his name to Wemby. I don't know why I keep saying Vic, but I think it's funny. I'm kind of committing to it at this point. So, Victor Wembanyama. I sometimes say Wabanyama. It is Wembanyama. I think. I'm pretty sure it's Victor Wembanyama. I've watched so many videos of him. How do I not know for certain? Whatever. Regardless. Victor Wembanyama. I just said it fast that time so you couldn't tell. I think it's definitely Wemby, because they shorten it to Wemby. But if I say Wabanyama, it's just me putting a little bit of a southern draw on it, okay? Wabanyama. Like Kentucky. Wobbin. That is just me making things up. All right, I'm going to focus up, okay? Focusing up. So, my hype level for Victor is that if I expect the Spurs to be at least in the play-in next year, and there should at least be a few people tweeting that he should win MVP, unironically. That is how hype I am for Victor Wembanyama. That is like, to me, when on the Ringer draft guide, the first thing listed about his attributes, like, for example, let me read you my dog. Let's go to Grady Dick, right? So on their draft guide, on the Ringer, they have a really nice draft guide. I really appreciate it. It helped me when I was going through my mock draft, looking at, because while I knew a good amount of the prospects, I didn't know some of the later ones, and it was really nice to look through, things they had written down. They had a good mock. It wasn't just a mock. It listed their attributes and stuff. So for Grady Dick, it says shades of Reggie Miller, Bojan Bogdanovic, and then it says he's a catch-and-shoot threat, pull-up threat, feel for the game, and hustle. That's like his attributes. He's a catch and shoot. He's got a feel for the game, and he can hustle. Let's go to Victor Wembanyama's. I said Wabin again. See, here we go. Shades of Gen Z Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Okay, so you just compared him to the NBA's, for the long time, leading scorer, now second, all-time scorer, Kareem. Okay, it's pretty big. First thing listed, potential GOAT. I have never seen that listed. For those of you that follow me on Twitter, I screenshot this like a month ago when it came out and was like, this is insane that they put this out there. It wasn't a month ago. It was probably like 2 weeks ago now I think about it. But still, that's nuts. Like, that is the first thing on your draft card. Potential GOAT. Then it says interior scoring, human highlight, and he's got that dog in him. And I like the fact it says got that dog in him. That's my dog, Victor. So, yeah. Also, anybody watches interviews of him, he seems like a great guy. I'm really excited. He also, he's got that Tim Duncan style about him, where he's like, I don't know if he's soft-spoken, but he doesn't seem like super caught up in, he's not super dramatic. He's just very straightforward and blunt about, he wants to play basketball and he wants to be great. And he's not like Brandon Miller, who did an interview and said that he believes Paul George is the GOAT. Like, he's not just saying stupid stuff to get the media fired up. He's just being legit, and I really like that about Victor. So, I mean, you can see in my favorite players, we got Jokic, who's the king of not caring about the media, Victor Wembanyama, and then Giannis. And Giannis is a lot more of a media personality. Like, he's got the jokes he does and all that. But even then, like, he's not a traditional. None of these guys act like LeBron, where LeBron will be like, I saw 3 rims and I just shot for the middle one. We're like over dramatizes his own career, and none of my guys do that. And Jokic does it the least, and then I think Wemby's going to be like kind of similar to that too, and that's great. I think it's entertaining. So what I think is really cool about this draft, though, is I think there's a lot of potential for this to go down as an all-time great draft. I'm being legitimate because if Victor's as great as I think he's going to be, Scoot I think could be like a great player, and then I think Amen Thompson's got a really high upside maybe. And over to this to be a great draft, there's going to be a lot of depth. Like guys like Bryce Sensabaugh are going to have to be really, really good role players. And, I'm really big on Cam Whitmore. He'll have to do something. Second-round picks, 2 ones I really like are Jordan Walsh and Keontae Johnson. Maybe even Counsell the fourth, right? Like those guys that go late in the draft, they'll have to do something with their career to lead it to be like considered one of the greatest drafts ever. But having 2 guys between Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson that are both considered, top 5 players, you can have 2 guys that could be top 5 players at the same time. You're going to get people talking about how great this draft is. And I think, there doesn't seem to be a ton of hype. Oh, man, I forgot. Sorry. I'm continuing. There doesn't seem to be like a ton of hype building around next year's class yet. So I'm like, maybe this is going to be a historically great class, and then we have a couple weaker classes after this, and that's just how it goes. We'll see. I'm excited. Till Bryce James rolls up. I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding. Bryce James, LeBron's. Okay. I was going to open the podcast and say tonight's going to be the biggest night in NBA history because the next greatest player of all time is being drafted, Imani Bates. I think I should have opened with that. I'm really ashamed, but I don't feel like going back and re-recording. But that is pretty funny. I'm not going to lie. If Imani Bates goes dead last, like the 58th pick to the Bucks, that would be perfect. For those of you who don't know what's on with Imani Bates, he's had a number of issues on and off the court. And, for a while there, he was heralded as like the next LeBron James. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He was a big deal. The fact that if he would have panned out, like the way they all predicted, him and Wemby would be like the biggest draft ever. They'd be like, this is the most important draft of all time. There's 2 generational prospects, and Scoot Henderson's pretty good too. Like that would be insane. And then I really think it'd be interesting if he gets drafted second round and like a team like the Heat could, fix some of the issues he's having off the court. Maybe he could legit be something. I'm not sure. I can't decide. Maybe he was just really overhyped from his high school days. And, he's really just not that good. Or maybe, if somebody can fix those off-the-court problems, he'll legit be great. So, that'll be interesting. See what goes on there. But I don't have a prediction for Imani Bates because he's not going in the first round. So, all right. I think it's officially time to get in the mock draft. First thing we have to do is last year I named my guy who is not allowed to be a lottery pick. And I think I'm going to name this award after Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic, famously a second-round pick. So last year I picked it to be Nikola Jovic. He was my guy from last year's draft. Keep an eye on him. Eventually I'll have it, so I have a whole team of these guys. So Nikola Jovic, though, was not a second-round pick. He was the 27th pick in last year's draft. I think from now on I'll make it so they have to be a second-round pick. Yeah, I think that's the way I'm going to do it. But he'll be the only one that's allowed to be a first-round pick. And if this really angers you and you think, I'm destroying my legitimacy as the Sort of Sports podcast by having one guy from the first round in this, please call your local police department and report me. I understand it is a crime to lie on the Sort of Sports podcast. So, the fact that I'm breaking my own rules by putting a first-round pick in a group that's from now on going to be full of second-round picks is heinous and terrible. And, frankly, I should be thrown in prison. So, if the police show up at my door and they're like, sir, you put Nikola Jovic in the Nikola Jokic draft squad of the Sort of Sports podcast, I'm going to shake my hands and say I knew this day would come. But, I completely understand if that's how you feel. But Nikola Jovic will be the first member of that team, and as time goes on, we'll see how those guys pan out. His rookie season just came to an end. He played for the Miami Heat, which means he went to the finals. So, even though I'm a curse for baseball, speaking of, I won't talk about the Reds right now because They're on an 11-game win streak, and I don't want to curse them, so that's why we're not talking about any MLB today, because that's been good for Quinn, and I got a lot of friends that are Reds fans, and Quinn especially, so don't want to talk about them. I really like Elio De La Cruz. Okay, I shouldn't say that. No, I'm cursing them. I'm done. Okay. So, Nikola Jovic, I picked him as my guy, and then he went on to be in the finals. The only way I could have done better is if I picked Christian Braun. That would have been the only way I could have done better. Because, he won the finals, obviously, with the Nuggets. My dog. All right. Also, Bruce Brown declined his player option. I don't know what's going to go on there. Hopefully he doesn't leave the Nuggets. That'd make me sad. But he could definitely get more money somewhere, so I'm not exactly shocked. I guess I should touch upon the pack before we start. Kristaps Porzingis is now a member of the Boston Celtics. I like that deal, but I do think it's a shame that Marcus Smart's leaving the Celtics. It just felt like he was a guy who wanted to be a Celtic for life, and I think it's really kind of a shame, but, it's a business, so that's how it goes. But, yeah, the fact that the Wizards are... the Wizards didn't get any first-round picks after moving Porzingis and Beal is insane. Also, the Phoenix Suns don't have a draft pick till, I think it's 2031. And I don't think the Phoenix Suns are going to win a finals in the next 8 years. So, that might be a hot take, but I'm being legit. I don't think this Bradley Beal deal is going to make him a finals. I don't think the Suns are going to win the finals. So, that's just my take within the next 8 years. So, I think they're going to be in a really bad place as a franchise in 5 years. Really bad. Bad. Brooklyn Nets circa 2017. Rough. What else am I going to say? Oh, yeah, Chris Paul's a member of the Warriors now. So, that is wild. That'll be entertaining. For those of you that want to be entertained, look up the video of when he fake laughed at Steve Kerr. That was hilarious. I actually just DM'd it to my girlfriend. I was like, this video is so funny. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll talk more about the Warriors. I think it's really interesting that Chris Paul's there. Does that automatically make it so they can't win a ring? He's just a curse? Maybe. All right. So I won't be picking the guy for the Nikola Jokic team, but Nikola Jovic is on that team as a rookie. He averaged 5.5 points, 2.1 rebounds, 0.7 assists, but he did make the finals. And, he got in. Yeah, he got in every game. No, not every game. He didn't get in game 3. Oh, no. Wait a minute. He did not get in every game. My bad. He got in 2 of the games against the Nuggets. I can't tell which ones. I think it's game 1 and 3 is what he got in. Yeah. But he got in, a couple games, played a minute or 2. So good for him. He made the finals as a rookie. That's a big deal. So once the draft commences, I will pick my guy for next year. Not next year. I'll pick my guy from this draft once the draft commences. But 2 second-round guys I really like are Jordan Walsh and Keontae Johnson. It's probably going to be one of those 2 guys. I'm not going to lie. I haven't decided which one. It'll probably just be whichever one goes to a team I kind of like more. If Jordan Walsh goes to the Heat, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. Be excited. If one of them went to the Bucks, obvious things like that. So I'd probably be who it'll be because I really like both those guys in college. Jordan Walsh is the guy with alopecia. I think it's how you pronounce it. We were watching the March Madness, and I was rooting for Arkansas, and G was like, oh, yeah, he has alopecia. And I was like, I don't know what that is at all. I just thought he had a weird haircut. She's like, no, he can't grow. I'm not exact. I don't even want to try to explain how it works because I'm not sure, but I think it's he can't grow hair. His body just doesn't. So he has alopecia, Jordan Walsh. Keontae Johnson is the guy that you might know him from a couple years ago. He had a heart attack on the court when he wasn't with Kansas State then. I think he was with Louisville. And then he went to Kansas State and he played really well with them. And when they were on the run, my dog, Marquise Noel. Marquise gets drafted. It might have to be him. Oh my gosh, if Marquise Noel from Kansas State gets drafted. Gosh. Kansas State, those are my boys. I really wish they would have won the Natty. I love those guys. But yeah, so probably Jordan Walsh, Keontae, or Marquise probably be my guy. But we'll see. We'll see who it is. All right, it's officially time for the mock draft. Here we go. With the number 1 pick, Adam Silver's going to walk out. He's going to congratulate the Denver Nuggets. I would love it if the Spurs just don't even let a second run off the clock. Just boom. take it in. But they're the Spurs. They don't do exciting things like that. They like to – they're very old school. And I appreciate that, I wonder how much longer Popovich is going to stay around. Maybe like a year. Maybe he'll just run it out and line it up so then Steve Kerr will leave the Warriors just in time to come coach the Spurs. That'd be wild if that happened. But regardless, they're going to take Victor Wembanyama, and he's going to look massive because he is massive, 6'4". And like I said, I have insane expectations for this man. Should be a lock for Rookie of the Year. The Spurs should make the playoffs. Him and Sohan already seem to be getting along, and I really like Jeremy Sohan with him. I tweeted out, I was like, this is the new Draymond Green, who is the new Dennis Rodman. I'm like, I think Sohan is going to be this great personality for the Spurs dynasty that I think is going to take place in the league. And I mean dynasty. Like, I'm genuinely expecting Victor to reinvigorate the Spurs to being what they were with Tim, where every year you can't count them out. And I expect Victor Wembanyama to be considered the best player in the league within the next 8 years. That is like how high my hype is for him. It should be like, all right, Giannis and Jokic are great, but it's Wemby's league now. Like, that is genuinely what should happen within the next 8 years. By the time the Phoenix Suns get a draft pick in, Victor Wembanyama should be considered the best player in the league. See, there it is. That's how long it'll be. I can't decide if that's saying it's a long time or not. We'll see. But yeah, super excited. Great pick. I'm really glad the Spurs got it because, gosh, I don't think I would be so committed to being a fan of him if it was like the Hornets, because then I got to be thrown in with all the LaMelo Ball fans, and I don't want to do that. If it was the Pistons, it would just feel wrong. I'm like, this is too much. I'm getting too much of what I want. This isn't fair. The NBA shouldn't just be playing for me. If so, we would have had a Bucks-Nuggets finals. So if you guys are trying to apologize to me by having the Buggets, yeah, it's my ultimate team. If you guys are trying to apologize by having the Bucks go out in the first round, but then rewarding me with a Victor Wembanyama on the Pistons, Adam, you dog. Come on, Adam. It's not even Valentine's Day yet. Quit being so romantic. That is what I would tell him. That's honestly what would happen. I'm sorry. I still can't get over the fact I literally referenced a friend of mine and how I don't think he dates the best women on this podcast. Never a conversation I thought I'd bring up. Okay. All right, 2 pick, Hornets. I don't really like Brandon Miller as a prospect. I just think he's going to be solid. I think he'll be a pretty good player. But I think he's like going to be like Chris Middleton is like his ceiling. This take could age poorly, but I think it's going to age well. Granted, I had a similar take. It's a really good thing that I didn't do the podcast in 2017. And I'm not just saying that because I was a 6th grader. I'm saying that because I genuinely believe that Lonzo Ball was the next Steph Curry and that Markelle Fultz was going to be the best point guard in the league and that Jason Tatum was overrated as hell and was going to be solid at best. It's a really good thing that podcast was never made. But I do have a similar take of Brandon Miller as I did Jason Tatum. And I just think, what I thought about Jason Tatum then is kind of what I think about Brandon Miller now. Maybe that's why I still don't like Jason Tatum. He pissed me off. I was like, I didn't want you to be any good. I didn't think you were going to be any good. Now you're good, and I don't really like you that much. Maybe there's a deep-rooted hatred between me and Jason Tatum. I think it's just him in general. I just don't really like him. But regardless, Jason Tatum is much better than I thought he'd be. Still not as good as some people say he is. Like, he's still overrated, but whatever. Brandon Miller should be the 3 pick. I understand he's got some upside. He's just going to be good. Like, there's no lie. He's going to be a good player. He's a shot maker. I want to look at his height. Not exactly how sure. Yeah, he's 6'9". Yeah, so it's eerily similar to Paul George, actually. 6'9". Yeah. This is... Huh. Obviously, there's the whole thing with, his former teammate and the gun situation and all that's gone on with Brandon Miller, so that also probably sours me on him. I just don't. Whenever guys got weird off the court stuff like that, I'm usually like, I don't know. So, yeah, I'm just not very high on Brandon Miller, and on top of that, like I said, I just don't think the upside is insane. I think at his best, he's Chris Middleton, and while Chris Middleton has been the second best player in a championship team, when you're drafting number 2, are you going for the second best player on a championship team? You know what I mean? Like, I know the last couple drafts, the number one pick hasn't been the best player most of the time, but your goal is still to get, your goal is to have it be that way, right? So, yeah. I think it's Brandon Miller. I think is going to go 2 to the Hornets though, because I just think they're going to be wrong. They're drafting for fit, which, in my experience watching the NBA draft, is never a good move. Let's take it back to 1984, ladies and gentlemen. The number 1 pick in the draft is Hakeem Olajuwon. Makes sense. He was insane at Houston University. Everyone had taken number 1. Understandable. Number 2 pick, the Blazers have a choice to make. Sam Bowie, a really good center. I can't even remember what college he was from. Was it Indiana, maybe? And Michael Jordan, the kid who hit a huge shot in the national title for North Carolina a year before that. Played with James Worthy, who was the number 1 pick the year before. The Blazers thought, wait, we have Clyde Drexler. We need to not draft another shooting guard because for fit, it wouldn't work. Him and Clyde Drexler playing together, it just doesn't work. And plus, the Blazers, were big fans of having a big center because the only time the Blazers had won an NBA championship was with big man Bill Walton. Also, I meant to say James Worthy was number 1 pick 2 years before. That's what I just looked up. I was like, I think I'm wrong. James Worthy was the number 1 pick in 82. Yeah, okay. So MJ hit the clutch shot 2 years before they drafted him. Interesting. Okay, regardless. The Blazers decided to take Sam Bowie because it might have been Bowie. Me not remembering him very well is just proof of the fact that he isn't important because he goes on to have knee problems the rest of his career, and Michael Jordan goes on to be the greatest basketball player of all time, all because dang it, the Blazers drafted for fit. The Blazers, 2007 NBA draft. Kevin Durant is right there at the number 1 pick. They could take him. They decide, well, we missed on a big man before, over 20 years ago, and we took Sam Bowie. But, maybe this time it'll work out. Greg Oden from Ohio State's really good. Plus, we have Brandon Roy, and I don't think KD would be the best fit with him. The Blazers select Greg Oden. He goes on to have injury problems. Kevin Durant goes on to be really good. I mean, I think there's a world where Kevin Durant is considered like the best ever, but he wasn't on the right teams. He completely messed up his legacy by going to the Warriors, but I don't think anyone would argue if you said most talented NBA players ever, he's got to be in the conversation. Like, he's got to be top 5. He's exceptionally talented. His skill set is insane. So, Kevin Durant. They missed on him. They missed on MJ. The Blazers both times because they were drafting for fit. And I think the fates are aligning tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on June 22nd, 2023. To me, it feels like the stars are aligning because a team that historically drafted for fit and missed out on 2 of the greatest player of all time and one of the best players of his era in Kevin Durant now are sitting at the 3 pick, which almost exactly 40 years ago, 1 year off, was the spot that was right after them where Michael Jordan was selected. Now there's an uber athletic guard that could fall to them if the team before them drafts for fit. Oddly enough, that team is just right now about to be sold by that Michael Jordan. There is too much irony here, ladies and gentlemen. There's way too much dramatic irony. Not dramatic irony, just irony in general. Dramatic irony is when you know something that the characters don't. See, my mother's an English teacher. There is too much going on here for me not to see. It just, sometimes pro sports, or just sports in general, play out like a movie, play out like a storybook. And, like the Spurs getting Wemby. Sometimes things are a little too perfect. To me, it's like, I think Scoot Henderson has potential to be incredible in the league. Absolutely incredible. And what team would deserve it more than a team that missed on Michael Jordan and missed on KD, and now is the opportunity, by the Hornets missing, to finally make up for their mistakes of the past. So to me, I'm predicting the Hornets to draft what I believe is the bad pick in Brandon Miller, and the Blazers are going to get Scoot Henderson. I think Scoot's going to be really good for them. I don't know what that's going to do. I don't know what they're going to do with Dame. To me, I think they trade Dame, get some young assets, start moving to Scoot. That's what I would do. But I completely understand, if they're like, we're going to try to compete with Scoot. That's a wild move. Not a lot of teams would try that. I don't know if Dame really wants to do that. But, they can do what they want. But to me, it just feels right. It just feels like what's going to happen. I don't like the pick of Brandon Miller to Charlotte. I don't think it's a very good move. And I don't think the Charlotte Hornets are going to be very good if they continue to draft this poorly. It feels like they got lucky with LaMelo Ball, and then after that, it's like, they have some other players. Like P.J. Washington's good, but they're going to make a big miss here. They have the number 2 pick, and they're going to skip over Scoot for fit. It just... Also, obviously, there's chats of Zion being traded to the Blazers possibly, or to the Hornets because the Pelicans want Scoot. If I'm the Hornets, I'm thinking, man, wonder why they want this Scoot Henderson guy, because that's who you should be taking. Oh, my gosh. All right, I think Brandon Miller's going to the Hornets. It just feels like they're going to mess up. It's also funny because I was listening to Bill Simmons' pod, and he made a great point. He talks about players, like you'll see on like Twitter and Instagram. It'll be like, the one he always uses is Jason Williams. He'll be like, white chocolate was a problem. And it's a bunch of highlights of Jason Williams, even though when he was doing those highlights, the Kings weren't even near the playoffs. He's basically saying, he's like, I think LaMelo is one of those guys. And I'm like, yeah, he might be. Like, I don't know if LaMelo, with the current way the Hornets are building, is going to be in a winning situation in Charlotte, or if he's just going to be making highlights for a team that maybe makes the play-in every year. I think I would have a lot more faith in the Hornets organization if they took Scoot here. I'm really high on Scoot. But, Brandon Miller going 2, Scoot Henderson going 3. That's the lock. That's official. My top 3 is Victor Wembanyama to the Spurs, the Hornets selecting Brandon Miller, and the Blazers ending up with Scoot Henderson, which I think can be their franchise guy, and I think it's really exciting. And I really like Scoot. Apparently he's great off the court, nothing but praise from everybody. I think he's got potential to be great. I think him and Wemby, like I said, I think we look back on this draft and we go, wow, Wemby and Scoot in the same draft. Like, I think it's a real LeBron Melo or LeBron Wade. Yeah, that 03 draft's got a really big top 3. But I'm saying similar thing right there. Maybe Brandon Miller is Carmelo Anthony and I don't realize it, but me personally, I'd rather have Dwayne Wade over Melo. That's who I would say Scoot is out of those 3. Doesn't really play similarly. Scoot for those of you who don't know, like, Scoot's pretty much usually compared to like Russell Westbrook. It's like the most common comp I hear, which at the moment doesn't sound good, but if you think of like 2016 Russell Westbrook, that's pretty good. All right. 4th pick. To me, it feels like, usually with each draft, I said this before, you know the top 3, who they're going to be. You just don't know what order. This year, it's like we know who the 1 is, and then the 2, 3 is going to be, you don't know which one will be, but it'll be Brandon and Scoot. You just don't know in which order. But this year, it feels like we know the top 4. Like, I feel like everyone's pretty sure Amen Thompson's going to the Rockets, me included. I really like him on the Rockets. I think, there is still something to Jalen Green. I'm not selling my Jalen Green stock yet. I still have Jalen Green stock. I still think he can be a really good player. And I think Amen is going to complement him really well. He is the better twin. Um, Asar or Usar Thompson is his brother. Some of these names I have trouble pronouncing, I'm not going to lie. But I looked up some of them, like Koulibaly. Koulibaly, the French player that plays with Victor Wembanyama. I have him going later, and I looked up how to pronounce his name. But Amen Thompson, I have him going to the Rockets. I really like the fit here, especially if they bring in Harden. I don't think they're going to. But if they did, I think he could play along with him well. He's 6'6", so if you want to try to go a smaller lineup and go Harden, Green, and Amen, along with, I can't remember the tall guy. This is really embarrassing. Who's the guy for the Rockets? His name's just slipping my mind. The guy for the Rockets that everyone likes, me included. Sengun. Alperen Sengun. Yes. Okay. Yeah, you could start your starting lineup could be Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, James Harden, which are all guards, but you just put them all together. You have Amen run the 3. Jabari Smith and Alperen Sengun. That's an interesting lineup. That is a fun team. But I don't think Harden's going back there. So I guess you just start Jayshawn Tate at the 3, and you do Amen and Jalen together. I think Amen and Jalen could have really interesting play. Maybe it's similar to a Desmond Bain, Ja Morant situation. Talking about Ja Morant positively is really weird anymore, but I'm saying, we think back to, just a year ago, right? You'd be like, dang, we can be like the Grizzlies? That, to you, that sounded good a year ago. Now everybody, me included, hates the Grizzlies and is annoyed by them. But I'm saying, I think it'd be a good fit for the Rockets. I'm not selling my Jalen Green stock yet. I still have faith that he can be a really good player. I am nearing selling my stock on him. I am nearing. I'm not going to lie. All right, number 5, the Pistons. I really, 2 days ago, I was like, they're going to take Jarris Walker from Houston. That's what they're going to take. It makes sense. Big forward. He can play well there. But the Pistons have a history of doing what I want, except for when they didn't take Jalen Green, which they knew better than me. So good thing they took Cade. But last year they took Jaden Ivey. He managed to fall to the 5. Didn't think he would. I literally looked back at my draft pod last year. Last year was the most wrong I'd been on a draft in a while. And since I had started doing mocks from 2019. In the 4 years I had done drafts, that was the worst I did was last year. Which was good because Jaden Ivey went to the Pistons, and that was great. And Paulo going 1 was much better than if Paulo would have went to the Rockets. So, really happy for my dog Paulo. Everybody here knows I like Paulo. And Chet going to the Thunder. Oh, gosh, the Thunder are going to be a playoff team next year. I just got to make sure everybody knows that. I forgot to mention, when I was talking about teams for next year, I barely even mentioned the fact that the Heat are obviously going to be a contender next year. But, the Thunder legit are going to be, I would expect them to be in the second round next year. I wouldn't even write off them making it to the Western Conference Finals. The Thunder are going to be legit next year. Okay. Mark Daigneault, basically a lock to be Coach of the Year. Okay, so Pistons, what I was saying. I feel like I should just bet on them doing exactly what I want. And what I would want them to, because it seems to me like Troy Weaver and I are on the same wavelength. My favorite prospect in this draft that's not named Victor Wembanyama. If Victor didn't exist, if Victor didn't exist, I'd probably just say it was, I'd probably be a big Scoot guy. But, because I am a big Scoot guy. I really like Scoot Henderson. But, if I had to pick my favorite player in this draft, that's not Wemby, because if Wemby didn't exist, I'd be telling you guys about how Scoot Henderson's my guy, and I'm going to follow him the rest of his career. I'm picking Victor instead. If they're a Hakeem MJ situation, and I look back and I had the chance to pick Scoot to be my guy, that's gonna be wild, absolutely wild. But I'll take Hakeem's career. That's still pretty good. But if I had to pick a guy who's my favorite that's not Wemby in this draft, it's Cam Whitmore from Villanova. I really like his game. He's a big wing, 6'6", 235, larger than a lot of these guys listed. He's got a jumper on him. And I don't know why I said it like I wasn't sure. He's got a jumper on him. No, he's got a jumper on him. He shot 34% from three, which usually in college, the best meter for how you're going to shoot in the league is their free throw shooting, honestly. I know it's weird, but it is actually more accurate usually than like 3-point percentage and 2-point like field goals. But I don't have his free throw percentage pulled up. He kind of, the Ringer listed him as similar to Miles Bridges. I think that's a pretty good comp, honestly. I like Cam Whitmore a lot. I think he's just one of those guys. You look at the draft and you want to look at, obviously you want to try to get a guy that has like superstar potential, but there's only so many guys with that. Usually it's a limited amount. And, the amount of Nikola Jokic's out there that you get late that have that superstar potential are so rare. So rare. Like, Jimmy Butler's not second round, but he basically is. He was the 30th pick in his draft. It's very rare to get a guy like that. And to me, one thing I like to look for is a guy who you can just see being a really good player on a championship team. And Cam Whitmore, to me, is that. Where if Cade Cunningham is playing at a superstar level and Jaden Ivey is his, borderline all-star level talent alongside him, and Jalen Duren is a really good center, like a high-end center, Cam Whitmore will be a really good 3 or 4, like really high-quality 3-4, like a Mikal Bridges, where if I'm on a bad team, I could average 25. Like, I got a bucket on me, I can go out and score. I'm on a good team, I'm averaging 15, and I'm playing hard. That, to me, is Cam Whitmore, and these, to me, are the type of guys that, if they work hard enough, that's how you get a Jimmy Butler. It's a guy who you drafted because he was solid and you knew he could give you quality minutes on a competitive team. And then, he works that extra mile and he becomes an all-star level player. That's how Jimmy Butler is. I don't think Cam Whitmore is going to become an all-star level player. But to me, I would rather take a chance on a guy who's, if he doesn't, at his base value, he'll be a solid contributor. And at his, if he worked really hard and has that special secret we don't realize and he becomes an all-star, great. Then taking a guy where it's, he's got all-star potential, he's just really physical. Hopefully it pans out. There's obviously, big guys drafted because I like I don't want to pull up Darko Milicic. I meant to say like Dragan Bender, like when he's drafted. Dragan Bender, you're just hoping that he's Dirk. If he's not Dirk, you're screwed. In the 2016 draft, the Suns took this big guy named Dragan Bender. He's not even in the league anymore. But that, that's the type of guy that I do not like drafting. I'm just not high on those type of guys. Franz Wagner, a couple years ago, is a guy to me like Cam Whitmore, where it's, he's going to be a good contributor. And maybe he's got the potential to be better than that, but at least you're getting a solid contributor. And Franz Wagner stepped up and is like, no, I'm better than just a solid contributor. I'm a really solid contributor. I'm got the chance to maybe be like a borderline all-star one day. And I don't think not Grady. I'll talk about Grady Dick later. I don't think Franz Wagner is going to be, he can't be the best player in a championship team. He probably can't even be the second best player in a championship team. But if he's your third or fourth best player, you're really legit. Maybe he could. Actually, Franz might be able to be the second best player on a championship team. Franz is a dog. And that's what Cam Whitmore reminds me of, where he's just one of those guys who, high floor, and, his ceiling is going to be hard, his ceiling is really whatever he makes it. And to me, those are the type of guys I like to get, and I think that's why the Pistons will go out and get him, because me and Troy Weaver usually on the same page. All right, 6th pick, Magic. I have them taking the other Thompson brother. I think it's Usar Thompson. This guy, Amen's more of the scorer out of the two, but Usar is just a really good playmaker. I think, some Magic guys I don't think are the highest on this because they like Markelle Fultz and how he fits with their team, which I understand. But I think Usar will be better than him. So that's why I think, drafting for fit is usually not a good move in the draft. You usually go best player available, especially in the NBA. Like I'm saying, for the NFL, you draft for fit a good amount of the time because you don't, there's only so many wide receivers you want to have. There's no point in drafting a high, quarterback in the top 15 if you have a good franchise quarterback. But for the NBA, I very much usually go best player available, and I think he is the best player available here at the 6th pick, and so it would make sense for the Magic. Maybe you run Fultz at the 2, or if he just completely outplays Fultz becomes your backup, and yeah, you're paying him $14 million a year, but maybe he's an asset. Who knows? I think Markello is one of those guys, though, who is most valuable to the Magic. I don't think there's another team that values him as much as they do. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on there, but I like him with the Magic. I think it's what makes sense. 7's the Pacers. I have them taking Jarris Walker from Houston. Big forward. Really like the way he plays. He's physical, like that entire Houston team was. I think he'll fit in really well in Indiana. I think he is one of those guys I would compare to Cam Whitmore, where it's, at his base, he's going to be solid. At his best, he's really high quality. I think there's a little bit of Rob Williams there. He's a little shorter than Rob Williams. But, Rob Williams is one of those guys. The Celtics got him pretty late, Texas A&M guy. I think it was, 2016 draft. And obviously he panned out to be a really high-quality player for them, and I think that's how Jarris Walker is, where it's, I know you're drafting in the top 10. You want to get an all-star level talent, but not every, you're not always going to get that, and you got to take a risk. And to me, Jarris Walker isn't really a risky pick. He's going to be solid for you. I don't think he's going to be an all-star anytime soon, but I think he'll be very good quality for you for the Pacers, and that's good at the 7 pick, right? Like getting a really quality player. I don't know. That's how I feel. I think he's a good quality pick. That's a good thing. All right, 8 Wizards. I have them taking Anthony Black. He's interesting. He doesn't have the best jumper, but man, he plays hard. This kid plays hard. At Arkansas, I like that whole Arkansas team. I just got to get it out there. I loved that entire Arkansas team, and I loved the entire Kansas State team. Those guys, if they faced off against each other could they have faced off in the Final Four, or are they on the same side? I think that would have been the national title. I would have lost my mind. I think that would have been in the national title if they played each other. Oh my gosh. I love the way both those teams played. Kansas State was my favorite, but Arkansas was a close second. Anthony Black plays hard. No matter what team he goes to, he's going to play hard. And the Wizards just made a move that got Jordan Peele to be the number 1 option, and he's going to want to shoot it all the time. So you just let Anthony Black develop alongside being able to not have to take that many shots, because Jordan Poole's going to want them all anyway. So it's a great fit. And I think Anthony Black's going to be really quality, so I think it's a good move. 9's the Utah Jazz. I have them taking Taylor Hendricks. He's a forward from UCF. He's like the most, I think it was the biggest prospect in UCF history to go there, so that's kind of a big deal. He's a pretty versatile forward. I like what he has to offer. He's got pretty good upside, honestly. I think he's got decent potential, and I think he would fit really interestingly well with Lauri Markkanen. I mean, he's 6'8", decent sized. Him and Lowry are going to be a big, 3-4 if you're running them both to start. So I think Taylor Hendricks could be really, really good for the Jazz. I think he's got a decent upside too, and I think it's exactly what the Jazz would like to have. Is just a really quality guy. Because I think the Jazz, really not a bad team. I don't think they're really trying to tank either. I think they're in a weird spot because they don't really have that go-to guy. I really like Lauri Markkanen, obviously. I mean, he was on the Cavs, and I loved him there. When I went to the Cavs game a year ago, he had like 30 points, and I was losing my mind. They played the Nuggets. And I actually saw Jokic live, which is wonderful to think about. But that was back before I was a Jokic lover. Looking back, I was really blessed. But game went to OT, too. Evan Mobley and won. I think I've talked about that game like 5 times on the pod. But I watched Jokic live. That's amazing. Okay. So the Jazz are in a weird spot because they don't have that like go-to scorer guy. And I don't think Taylor Hendricks is going to become that. But if when the Jazz eventually do get that guy, if they can keep this team together and get that guy next year in the draft somehow, they're going to be legit. So I like him here. I don't think you want to take a big swing and, take somebody weird just because. No, just stick to the course, take a solid guy, have some patience. I think the nice thing about the Nuggets winning the finals is that I think a lot more teams are going to look at them and say, okay, they were patient. They didn't just blow it up all the time. And so hopefully, teams like the Cavs aren't going to be like super like, well, we got Donovan Mitchell, but then we lost the first round, blow it up. I think more teams are going to be patient now because they saw how the Nuggets patiently built their team. And I think it's a good thing for the league to try to emulate, is that patience. So, I mean, obviously there's some teams that just need to blow it up. the Wizards shouldn't have been so patient for all those years. But the Wizards front office is just not good. I mean, even now they're blowing it up. They're still not getting first-round picks. Oh, I'm so glad I'm not a Wizards fan. Funniest thing I ever saw was this like Reddit post they put together that was what every fan base says their most hated team is. And it was like pretty interesting because like a lot of teams saw the Lakers as their number one rival, but like obviously the Lakers can only see two teams because you have your first main rival and then your second rival. So it was funny, like the ratios of like teams. There's a bunch of teams that are like, the Celtics are our first rival, and like the Celtics obviously didn't have them listed. So it's like, it made me think about the like you took everything from me, and it's like I don't even know who you are, type thing. The Thanos thing. But what a classic movie. But the funniest thing was about it is that the Wizards, I forget who it said the number one rival is, but their number, because the words were most hated team. And it said number one was, I forget who the Wizards put, and then number two, it was themselves. And that was so funny to me. And somebody commented, was like, yeah, you know it's legit because the Wizards fan voted their own team as their second most hated. I'm like, that is actually terribly sad and probably accurate. So hopefully they like Anthony Black. All right, 10th pick, Dallas Mavericks. I have them taking, I think it's Bilal Coulibaly. He's Victor Wembanyama's teammate that Victor has really been talking up. And I really like this guy. On the Bill Simmons pod, he talked about him being his Sohan of this draft. I don't know if I exactly agree with that, but I really like what he has to offer. I think a lot of people have him mock going to the Thunder because he feels like a Thunder guy where, you know, he's a bit of a risk, and that usually seems like a Thunder pick. But I like what he has to offer. You know, some people compare him to Torrey Craig. I don't know if that's really a glowing endorsement. But, you know, he's interesting. He can play some defense. He's not the strongest with the ball, but there's a lot to develop there. And, you know, he's 6'7", 194. There's interesting things you can develop with him. And to me, I know you're like, okay, you're giving the Mavericks a guy who they're going to have to develop. That's weird. You know, you'd think with Luka and Kyrie, they're going to want to go out and get somebody that's ready to go like Grady Dick. I agree, but I think there's something here defensively that they're going to be interested in with Coulibaly. I think, you know, losing Dorian Finney-Smith was big for them defensively, and I think maybe he can be that replacement. So, all right, Magic drafting again. This is the Bulls pick that they have. I have them taking Derek Lively the second from Duke, big center. The Magic don't really have like a real go-to center behind Wendell Carter Jr. I don't know why it froze. Behind Wendell Carter Jr. because, you know, they traded away Mo Bamba, and I think Derek Lively II will be a really solid backup for them, and having a high-quality backup like that's good. So you're not going to not start Wendell Carter. I love Wendell Carter Jr. He's great there. So, yeah. They got a big team anyway, though. I mean, he's 7'1". He's a beast. I'm starting to say here, I'm like, man, are they going to take him? I don't know. I don't know if they'll really, maybe they might go with Kobe Buffkin. Could they go with Kobe Buffkin? They could. I'm sticking with it. Why not? Take another center. Centers are important to have. I mean, every position is important to have. So I think I'm going to have him take Derek Lively second. I know it doesn't make the most sense because they already have Wendell Carter Jr., but I mean, we'll see. Maybe they just want to have a high-quality backup. It just seems like something the Magic would do. I don't know why. Sometimes I make my mock drafts. I'm going to be really honest with you. I just look at it and be like, yeah, he looks like a Thunder player, which brings us to number 12, Grady Dick to the Thunder. It just feels like something that's going to happen. I'm going to be honest. It just feels like Grady Dick would fit with them. I could really see Josh Giddey running down the court, kicking over to Grady Dick. He hits a three, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does a little three to the dome, Melo style, and then they all post a video of them, you know, in their fashion outfits after the game, and Shai's got his epic caption, and Grady Dick's got a Dorothy from Wizard of Oz suit because he's from Kansas, was his college. So we're not in Kansas anymore. And then he's in like a suit that looks like her shoes that are really bright red, sequenced. He just fits with the Thunder. So that's why I'm putting him 12. I'm going to be honest. And I really like him there. I really like Grady Dick for the Thunder. I think it's a really good fit there. Grady Dick's one of those guys that I would say is when you draft him, you know you're getting somebody that can give you quality minutes. You know, like I talked about earlier about, you know, Cam Whitmore and Jarris Walker. Very similar player here where it's, you know, at base value, you're going to get a guy who can come off the bench, give you some buckets. At high value, like at his best value, he's a starting small forward who's very quality, like a very high quality small forward. Grady Dick is one of those guys that fits perfectly in the NBA. He plays hard, kind of like a Bruce Brown guy. Every team in the league would love to have Bruce Brown, and I think Grady Dick is that type of guy, where it's you can hit big shots, you play hard, and every team would love to have you. That's how Bruce Brown is, and that to me is what Grady Dick could be. All right. Also, if Cam Whitmore didn't exist, Grady Dick's probably my favorite player. I don't know. My favorite players in this draft are definitely Wemby, Cam Whitmore, Grady Dick, and then, like I said, Jordan Walsh, Keontae Johnson. If Marquise Noel gets taken, I do love Scoot Henderson, like a lot, but it's cheating to love him and Wemby both at the same time. Come on. All right. Raptors. I have them taking Kobe Buffkin from Michigan. He's been really rising in the draft. For a minute there, I thought I was going to have him take Keontae George. I decided to have him go with Buffkin. Apparently, he's been really great in workouts. It just feels like a Raptors type of guy. Michigan player, very quality. Defensively, and they're going to like that. I mean, he's been compared some to Emmanuel Quickley, and I feel like that would seem like a Raptors player to me. I'm being legit. I could definitely see a Raptors player to me. So, yeah, they want the defense. The Raptors are, somebody made a great tweet I saw. It was, you know, the Raptors are a team full of really quality role players. I'm like, I think Scotty Barnes is better than a quality role player, but like it feels like if the Raptors were like, if you added Kawhi Leonard to the current Raptors and he was healthy the whole season, that would be like an Eastern Conference Finals team, being dead serious. Like, there's a part of me that looks back in time and thinks, if Kawhi just went back to the Raptors, I think he would have been better off. Now, granted, they don't get Scotty Barnes then. That never happens. But like if Kawhi went there to them tomorrow, gosh. Also, quick thing. I would love for the Spurs to just make a huge move. Just bet on Wemby and be like, yeah, we're going to make a big move. Because they know he's going to be good. Like, if Paul George is available, like, what if the Spurs were just like, yeah, you know, here's a future first that's from, like a 2026 first and Devin Vassell and maybe another pick for Paul George. Granted, I'm not high enough on Paul George that I think they should do that. But there's a part of me that thinks, like, what if the Spurs just went out there and made a huge move? Because they know they got something with Wemby. That would be insane. I don't think they will, but that'd be really cool. It just doesn't seem like a Spurs thing to do. But part of me thinks it'd be interesting. I do feel like there's going to be some big trades here on draft night, but I haven't predicted any because I'm too scared. I'm just too scared. So I have no clue what's going to go on. All right, 14, Pelicans. I haven't taken Keontae George from Baylor. There's been a lot of hype around him for years since he was back in high school, and I think, you know, the Pelicans would like to get a guard. That's why they're looking to get Scoot Henderson. I really like Keontae George. I think he has some decent upside, and I think he'd be a great fit there with the Pelicans. I think he'd be good, and I think they're going to trade Zion soon. I don't know where he's going to go, and I think Keontae would be a good guard going ahead with whatever direction their team takes. The Hawks. I haven't taken Jalen Hood. I think it's Schifino. He's from Indiana. I watched this guy some when he was in Indiana. I liked what he has. Pretty much every mock has him going to the Hawks, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll join in. So I think he'd be a quality guy behind Murray and Trey. I don't know if Trey Young's going to be moved, but this guy will be solid. I don't think he's going to have like insane upside, but I think he's solid, and I like that. All right, 16 Jazz. I have them taking Carson Wallace from Kentucky. I really like this pick. I really actually do. I think this would be a really nice pairing with Hendricks, Lowry, and him. I really like what this brings for the Jazz. This guy, these Kentucky guys always seem to have crazy upside. Tyrese Maxey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, De'Aaron Fox. These are guys that were taken not in the top 5, but they were all quality players from Kentucky. Carson Wallace, I think, is going to – not Carson. Gosh, Cason Wallace. He doesn't have an R. My brain had an R. Cason Wallace from Kentucky has that same type of thing to him. And maybe, it's a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander situation. Emmanuel Quickley, also from Kentucky. Second-round pick. Really quality. So these Kentucky guards, they don't have to go in the top 5 to be quality. So I think Cason Wallace could be really good for the Jazz, honestly. I think he could be a guy we look back and say, wow, he really should have went higher. All right. 17th pick, Lakers. I have them taking Jordan Hawkins from UConn. This, to me, just seems perfect. You got a guy that just won the national title with Kentucky, was the best player on that team, super quality, great shooter, and being added to the Lakers, who need great shooting. Jordan Hawkins just seems perfect there. He could literally just become what J.R. Smith was for the Cavs in 2016. So LeBron's used to playing with that style. Jordan Hawkins would just be there to catch and shoot. Every once in a while, he can drive. He's going to have some fun energy. I think he'd fit in great there. Jordan Hawkins, the Lakers, to me, if I'm a Lakers fan, I'm so happy if we get Jordan Hawkins. Not a Lakers fan. Do not like the Lakers. But if they got him, if I was a Lakers fan, I'd be very happy with that pick. 18, the Heat. I haven't taken Nick Smith Jr. from my boys at Arkansas. I was trying to think about, who, feels like a Heat player. Because if you look at teams, the best drafting teams of the last couple of years, to me, it's got to be Heat, Nuggets, Thunder. Those are the 3 best drafting teams in my opinion. I think there's maybe an argument for the Celtics. Honestly, maybe the Celtics. But the Heat, a lot of theirs is actually undrafted, to be honest. But even their draft, they do well. So, regardless of all that, this definitely the 4. I think. Oh, that's tough. Who actually is the 3? The Thunder have to be in there because the Thunder have drafted so well. Josh Giddey, Shai didn't draft Shai. But even then, I like Chet there. Thunder got to be there. All right, that's it. That's a top 4. But, if the Celtics don't get a great pick this year, they're out. That's what I'm saying. We talk about this next year. I'll be like, all right, well, the Heat, Nuggets, and Thunder are the best teams at drafting. The Spurs used to be. And I think hopefully the Spurs, have a good draft this year. I know they went out and got a second-round pick. So, hopefully they can go back to being great drafters because I don't think Josh Primo jerseys are selling the best. So, yeah, I know. Well, Jeremy Sohan is a good pick. So, Sohan, whatever they do this year, along with Wemby, Spurs might be back in business. But I would put Celtics 4th. They're outside my top 3. I'm just deciding. All right. Yeah. So, to me, I took Nick Smith Jr. It just feels like a guy I could see on the Heat. I think he could buy into that Heat culture, and he could be a really play hard guy. And I think if the Lakers take Nick Smith Jr., the Heat will take Jordan Hawkins. To me, those 2 guys have similarities in what they can do and what they can offer. So and I'm saying I think Nick Smith Jr. and Jordan Hawkins would both fit in really well with the Heat. So that's why I have Nick Smith Jr. going to the Heat because Jordan Hawkins I had to give to the Lakers. So I was like, crap, I guess I'll do Nick Smith Jr. All right, Warriors. I have them taking Jet Howard. Jet Howard's a little bit all over the place when you look at different mock drafts. From Michigan, he's a wing. I think he can be really interesting because, he was really good three-point shooter at Michigan, and I don't think the Warriors are going to go for guard for obvious reasons. I don't know. They're going to start probably Paul, Curry, Clay, and then Draymond's out. Do they run a bit of a smaller lineup and put Jet at the 4? He's 6'8", so it's not tiny. Maybe that's what they look at doing. But obviously you have Andrew Wiggins. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to want to do. I mean, they can run Looney at the 5. I'm not sure what they want to do. But I like Jet Howard for them, and I think it makes sense. All right, 20, the Rockets. Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State. Great fit here, just a hard-nosed scorer. He'd be great for the Rockets. Honestly, very similar to Jayshawn Tate, oddly enough. So, Nets, both Ohio State guys, by the way. Nets, I have them taking at 21 Leonard Miller, forward from the G League team. High quality scorer. He averaged 18 on the G League team. Not the strongest defender, but I think he could have some good scoring. You know, he's got shades, honestly, of I don't know exactly how I would describe him. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, right here, let's go. What the ringers say? Shades of a leaner Paul Millsap. Yeah, he is like almost. Yeah, he's like 6'10", but he's very athletic. He's not the best 3-point shooter though. So, you know, definitely more of a 4 look, which makes sense. I wasn't gonna have them take a guy that would back up Mikal Bridges. You want somebody who can play alongside him. It just seems like somebody the Nets are gonna take. I'm not gonna lie. And then Brandon Podziemski, I think is the way you say it. He's from Santa Clara. Guard, I like him. I think he can, you know, help with this offense and, you know, maybe eventually be a starting point guard for them. I think he's got some upside. I like him. He's 6'4", so not, you know, pretty average size for a point guard. A little bigger than you. Anymore it's about average. So I think he'd be good for the – I mean, this is just 2 quality players. Neither of them are big swings. You're just taking 2 quality guys. And I don't really think the Nets need to be taking crazy swings. Like I said before, the Nets are perfectly built for a superstar guy to just come in and cook. Like if I'm Damian Lillard, I want to get to the Nets because I could cook with that team. Or the Raptors. Like either one of those teams. All right, Blazers. This is their next pick since Scoot. And I like Noah Clowney for them. From Alabama. Freshman. Big. 6'10". I like what he can offer a lot. He's tough. Plays hard. Isn't a big scorer. But I really like what he can do. And I think, you know, you don't really need a big scorer to go along with Scoot. And I think he'd be really valuable defensively. And I like what he can offer. Kings, 24 pick. Dariq Whitehead is what I got. They're going to bet again on getting a guy that, you know, drops a little bit in the draft. And, sorry, I don't know how to describe this. I'm saying they got De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox did not drop. But De'Aaron Fox from Kentucky, big name program, turned out to be really quality for them. Similar thing of Dariq Whitehead, where he's fallen a little bit, but in high school he was hyped up, and that's why he went to Duke. Kings looking at a similar thing here, where it's, well, man, he went to Duke. It's a big program. Let's take him. Think he could work out for them. He's a forward. I like what he could do with the Kings. Celtics. I'm not sure how to pronounce this guy's name. I need to start bringing water down when I record because my throat gets dry. I think it's Olivier Maxence Prosper from Marquette. When I was watching Marquette, this guy was a standout. I like what he brings. I think it'd make a lot of sense. Now that they moved out, Marcus Smart, try to get somebody who plays hard defensively, but is, you know, just an athletic player, and he just feels like a Celtics guy. So I know I say that for a lot of teams, but that is genuinely what I kind of do here when I look through, because once you get in these later rounds, you're just kind of throwing darts at a dartboard, trying to get them right, and sometimes it goes down to, oh yeah, that feels like a move they'd make. That's just the honest truth. Which is why the Pacers, Chris Murray, I felt like Keegan Murray looked like a guy that played for the Pacers last year, so why not put his twin brother on him this year? Chris Murray, 26, to the Pacers. 27, Hornets. James Ninjaj, I think is the way you pronounce it. Not exactly sure. Barcelona. Nigeria, that's what it says. Like Barcelona's his team, but he's from Nigeria, I think is what it's saying. 6'10". Really the big thing here is his defense. And there's one thing the Hornets need, it's defense. So, makes sense there for them. All right, 28th. The Jazz. I have them taking Colby Jones from Xavier. Good wing. Would really like what he can bring for the Jazz. The Jazz right now, with the way I have them drafting, they're stacking up some really quality players. And, they're going to be the Nets of the West, where it's, hey, superstar, come to us. We got a really good team going on here. That, to me, is what the Jazz are going to look like if they draft this way that I'm predicting. All right. I like the idea of the Nuggets getting Colby Jones, to be honest. I know a good amount of mocks have them doing that, and it feels like a pick they would do. Going to be legit. I just think that the Jazz are going to take him. So who I ended up having the Nuggets take in my mock is Jaime Jaquez Jr., the guy from UCLA. Best player at UCLA this last year. Some mocks have him around not late lottery, my bad. Right after the lottery, in the 15, 20 range. Then there's some mocks have him in the second round. He's been all over the place. But this guy plays hard. And I think with the Nuggets, he'd come off that bench and he would give him quality minutes. And that's the type of guy they'd be drafting, which is why I thought Colby Jones made sense there. But Jaime Jaquez Jr. could also do that. All right, Clippers. I have them taking Trayce Jackson-Davis. It just feels like somebody they'd take from Indiana. I could just see it. It's like when they took Jason Preston. I was like, yeah, that's a guy the Clippers would take. They would take Trayce Jackson-Davis. They really like taking guys who are ball dominant. I don't know why, but they do. The Clippers always seem to draft. Ever since I got PG and Kawhi, they just draft guys who in college just got buckets. That's just what they like drafting, is bucket getters. They don't really draft, defensive guys or guys who different things. They just like drafting guys who go out and score. And that's what Trayce Jackson-Davis did. He just went out and scored. So it just makes sense to me. I'm like, yeah, that's probably what they do. So. All right. Oh, wait a minute. Do the Clippers have that pick still? Or did that get moved? I need to check this real quick. I'm going to be so embarrassed. I'm going to go to Tankathon real quick, guys. They currently do still have that pick. Okay. I had to make sure it didn't get traded. Okay, well, if it gets traded tonight, I'm still picking Trayce Jackson-Davis, dang it. Okay, it's still going to happen. It's still the way I'm picking. Detroit has the 31st pick. Hopefully they get a good guy there. Milwaukee has the 58th pick. Like I said, it'd be really funny if Imani Bates went there. I think there's a chance Cleveland takes him at 49th. That would be interesting because then I'd be watching him as a Cavs guy. So Wizards have another pick at 35. That'll be interesting what goes on there. San Antonio's next pick is 33. Really excited for that. I'm pretty much planning on watching the whole draft this year because there's a good amount of guys I like that are going to go in the second round, like Council the fourth and Keontae Johnson and Jordan Walsh. So it'll be really interesting who I pick to be my Nikola Jokic team from 2023, which guy I'm picking to be added to my team that Nikola Jovic is a part of. It just seems too perfect to name it after Jokic when Jovic is on there. Fun fact, if you look up Nikola Jovic stats, it'll autocorrect to Jokic. So poor Nikola Jovic, no one wants to see his stats apparently. It's really a shame, except me. All right. Hope you watch the draft. If you don't, and you listen to this just for me, oh, that's so sweet. But yeah, I'm excited. I hope you enjoyed my big movie analysis of the Scoot Henderson going to the Blazers. Now it's just like the fates aligning. I hope you found that entertaining. And that's all for the pod. Next one will be the draft wrap-up. And then I'm probably just going to have one where I talk about baseball and movies and all that because, I'm going to be going to see some movies next week. And, we're going to be out of the draft season. And once we hit July, it's just really whatever I feel like doing for a little bit here. We're really out of it's a lot more regimented when you get to May and June because it's like I got to do NBA playoff predictions, and usually I got to do a pod in the middle of the playoffs talking about it, maybe two, depending on how crazy it is. And then it's, the NBA Finals preview, NBA Finals wrap-up, and then you go right into the draft preview and the draft wrap-up, so been all over. And then I say it like I have a team. It's just me. Especially now that Q's off. We don't do the BS anymore. He's a busy man. He's got a real man's job now. But A real man's job. I don't know why I made it sound like this is a fake man's job. This is how would I word this? The best job. Boom. Boom. Look at that. How sweet. I truly have a way with words. Oh, man. Okay. What was I going to say? I do think it's funny when I record these. It truly is like just me talking to. The way I record these is, I've noticed it when I'm sitting here, is that I record it like I'm talking to somebody, like this non-existent person. And when you listen to it, like you that are listening to it, I imagine, like people listening to this, and it's like we're having a very one-sided conversation where I just continue to talk and you continue to listen. It's very odd because when I re-listen back to them, it's like me talking to me. Like I don't record them as if it's my thoughts being documented. I record them like it's my thoughts I'm telling to someone. I know, it's odd. Like even when I don't have, like when I have somebody else on the pod, very obviously it's me having a conversation with somebody. But when there's no one here, it still sounds like I'm having a conversation with somebody. It just sounds like that somebody never speaks back. It's really, I don't know if this is a normal thing. I don't really listen to a lot of solo pods. Like pretty much every pod I listen to, they're talking with somebody. And a lot of ones that are solo pods, they're usually covering a lot more information than I do. Mine is very stream of consciousness, so. I don't know. Maybe I'm not that unique. Maybe you, listen to pods that are very similar to this. There I just did it again. Like I talk to you as if you're sitting right here. I don't know. It's interesting. Somebody could definitely do a psychoanalysis on me for kicks. I'm sure my girlfriend will listen to this and, later she'll like do a psychoanalysis on me for humor. And then I'll be like, oh shoot, I never thought about it like that. And then, my mind will kind of be rocked by how much that analysis was accurate. And then I won't want to think about it anymore. It's probably accurate. Oh, Jackie Brown is at the end. Look at that. The final credits are about to roll as she drives away from her lover. Spoilers. What a sad ending. She loves this man, and in the end, they both realize that they just can't be together, and that's a damn shame. It's a good flick, though. All right. Oh my gosh, it just went black. I gotta end it. It's perfect. Credits just rolled. See you all in the next one. Excited for the draft. Wemby.